Copenhagen in the dead of winter. Lost luggage drama, driverless metros, a micro-loft hotel straight out of an IKEA dream, and a royal palace that hides a talking ghost doll. In the next half hour, we'll show you how two brand new Paris expats pulled off an instant wedding, ate our body weight in open-faced sandwiches, and squeezed 4 perfect days into one gorgeous Nordic city. It's all chapter marked below, so jump around wherever you like, but the whole ride's worth it. Welcome to Travels with Chez Davis. Now let's hit Denmark. So why did two foreigners who had just arrived in Paris, of all places, jet off to Denmark in the dead of winter? One word.
A marriage.
Copenhagen is one of the easiest places for foreigners to get married, and they have quite a support industry built up around this. Today we're going to tell you why we chose Denmark, but mostly we're going to show you the awesome time we had.
Welcome to Chez Davis.
So if you've watched any of our other videos, you know that Susie and I had this epic 3-year COVID separation, but we knew we were going to reunite and get married and start our actual life as soon as international travel rules allowed. So we met in Paris, and there's a video all about that. But getting married was a little trickier. We talked about doing it in Paris, but as we dug into the requirements, the French paperwork was basically a nightmare. So I started looking for alternative solutions, and I discovered that Denmark makes it very easy for foreigners to get married. There are some steps, and you need someone local on the ground. We engaged a service that did some of the pre-running around that had to be done, but it was really seamless and cannot recommend it more, and it wasn't that expensive relative to what they did for us. So we flew into Copenhagen from Charles de Gaulle Airport here in Paris, and our first impressions on getting there, well, the airport's very small, so that was interesting for a major city, but it's very small, I guess the size they need. It seemed pretty spotlessly clean, and overall seemed to be efficient. Things seemed to be running and working very smoothly, but there was one pretty big problem that we discovered when we got to baggage claim.
Yeah, they lost our baggage.
The one suitcase we brought that had, our wedding clothes was gone. And so we looked around at the handful of baggage carousels that existed, didn't find it, looked around in the corners where they had oversized bags set aside, special handling bags set aside, just in case, nothing. And finally I go to the lost baggage claim desk, and there was a big line of people there, which is never a good sign, in such a small airport especially. And then when finally it was my turn and I talked to the lady, and fortunately she spoke English, and we'll talk about language here more later. But Susie noticed something about the way she handed me sort of the claim form. And what was that?
Yeah, she kind of gave out the piece of notes to everybody like too often. It's like, it seems like they lose the baggage too often. It's like, it's just not a good sign at all. It's
Tom Brady throwing the football. He's done it a few times. He's done it before. There's just no thought. It's like, oh yeah, don't, next. But then fortunately, while I was doing something else that I had to do, Susie had gone out to scour around, and then she sees the bag.
Yeah, our luggage came with the later batches. I'm so glad we didn't have to get married with our casual jeans.
Yeah, because we had what we were wearing. I've got a Patagonia and like travel jeans. She's got her winter coat and, probably a sweater and comfy jeans. And it would have been a look. But as you'll see from our wedding photos and video that'll be in here later, fortunately we got the bag back, we cleaned up, and all was well. The next piece of logistics is that we got on the metro to get to our hotel, and we were both really impressed with the metro system in Denmark.
Oh, right, yeah. Unlike all the other metro system in Denmark, they do not have those staff or facilities to verify your tickets. It's just a easy. I don't know.
It's like an open turnstile. Instead of having something that you push through, like scan your pass or pay your thing, I think it's called an honesty barrier, basically, where it's wide open. You just walk right on the thing. And there are the little automated kiosks to purchase a single ticket, or if you are local and have like a card to recharge, you can do that. But you just get on the metro and go. And I assume it works the same for the buses. I don't remember getting on a bus. I saw some police officers at one station later in the trip who were casually controlling kind of a few random people. It didn't seem punitive. In Paris, it does feel like you're running a gauntlet, and they'll get on and off the buses all the time. And I've had them control me. Like literally, I've walked on, tapped my Navigo card on the bus in front of the officer, who then wants to check my card. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm nice and friendly, but you just saw me swipe it 2 feet away from you. The metro trains are driverless. They run 24 hours a day, every day. They're computer controlled, and I guess there are a bunch of people in a control center somewhere who watch and maintain the line, make sure everything's okay, make sure everything's going well. But that honor system was really nice.
Yeah, especially for somebody comes from other big cities, for example, Paris, New York, LA, or Beijing. It's kind of a utopian place. It's just they trust you to buy your ticket, but there are not much people verify your tickets. Doesn't mean you probably can just walk into the metro train, but don't do that because the penalty can be huge.
Yeah, I forget what the penalty was, but it's posted enough places that anyone should think twice about doing it. It was a lot. I mean, it's expensive in Paris, but it was way more in Denmark, as I remember. So we got the metro and we got to our hotel, and from looking online, I'd found this place called the Zoku Hotel. And as I learned, they were founded in Amsterdam, and they only have a few locations. They're in Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Vienna, and Paris. We booked this place. So happy we did. It's like this micro-loft concept. Every room is a little mini loft and has a small but totally functional kitchen with everything. A little dishwasher, a little cooking hob, prep space, a lot of cabinet space for a tiny kitchen, and all the utensils you need. And it's all so perfectly put together and organized. The whole thing, in general, it sort of felt like an IKEA store in a good way, like a classy IKEA store. Everything had a place. It fit perfectly. There was a lot of thought in the design. Very clean. The bed was upstairs in the loft. You pulled the stairs out of the wall. They recessed into the wall to give you more floor space in the living room that they pull out into. And the cabinets are staggered under the stairs, and there's so much storage.
Exactly. I can't vaguely remember the knives.
Oh, were they? Oh, yeah, they had the magnetic.
So cool.
Yeah, they had the magnetic holder for the knives. That's right, and the other utensils like the spatula and things like that.
Yeah, and I guess that's why we design our Beijing apartment and how we arrange our knives on the wall.
That's right. Susie got one of those to be able to put our stuff up. We'll do a tour of our Beijing apartment sometime if we ever get back there. So the room itself was really fantastic, and actually in an alternate universe where I'm a bachelor, I could live there. Like I could embrace that as a single person. You could make it work to live there. For 2 people, it'd be a little tight, and with a baby, no way.
Small, but really, 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 really nice.
Another amazing feature of this hotel was the fantastic rooftop bar, restaurant, cafe, where the check-in desk is. You enter from the ground floor and they tell you, and it's well marked in the elevator and the signs going in and whatnot. You go up to the top floor, which I think was the 5th floor or 7th floor. It was not a very tall building, but we get up there and we check in, and it looks like one part really high-end co-working space, one part cool cafe, very arty, one part restaurant, but it's all sort of open with little semi-dividers around to give you senses of privacy while also keeping it open. There's this great glass-walled atrium that you walk from the elevators to go across, and then you're seeing all outside, and it's full of plants. It's so green and pretty, and it was just really beautiful. The staff was really nice. But as great as the hotel was, we were not about to spend all of our first day in Copenhagen sitting in a hotel. So we got on that really cool metro and we went to the town hall. We were going to be married the next day. And that was pretty great. What did you think when that surrounding area, like going to the town hall, looking around the shops and everything?
That's a city center. Yes, it's lots of bakeries, restaurant, cafe. The city hall itself is a very traditional building, and it's quiet, it's clean. There are always people getting married. we run into a bunch.
And the next day, off we go. It's the big adventure. So what are some of your impressions of the inside of that really cool, interesting town hall where we got married?
Everything's organized, and people speak good English. I remember you and the security guy chatted in English. He spent some time in the US, right?
Absolutely. Most people, guess we'll just say this now, English is a second language in Denmark, so fortunately, language was not our problem. We tried to learn a few little words and phrases in Danish to be able to be polite, and, hey and goodbye, hej and tak, I believe, for hello and goodbye. And that may be wrong. I'm not going to correct this if it is. You can just enjoy a laugh at me. But it's difficult enough that we weren't going to master it. But the ceremony itself was really simple and beautiful, nice. The woman who married us could not have been lovelier. The ceremony was beautiful. The room was really nice. Very interesting. Very different than if we'd done this in the US or China. The decor and everything. But after that, we went to a wonderful restaurant. And I'm going to mangle the pronunciation of their name, but they were called, in English, you would say Allegade 10. Probably Allegade or Allegada or something. Amazing. And that's where we discovered something that became our favorite for a while.
We loved herrings.
Yeah, pickled herring became a thing for us for a while. Where have we purchased and eaten herring, Susie?
We had herrings in Denmark, in France, in Beijing, in UK, everywhere we visited. We have that several times a month for about 1 or 2 years.
And then one day, after we'd moved here proper back to Paris, we'd purchased some herring again at the grocery store along with, the little pickles and other things. And we just got sick of it. Oh my God, we got so sick of pickled herring. The way they did it for us in Denmark was really fantastic. And it wasn't just like pickled herring and pickles and bread. It was a whole collection of things. The food was so yummy. I would love to visit that restaurant again. If we get back to Copenhagen, absolutely we have to go there.
Yeah, and looking at these pictures, it remind me that that's probably the first dining out. We were in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the layout of the food. Now I totally understand. That's in Denmark, people really like open sandwich.
Yeah.
And the way they lay out the food is for you to make open sandwich for yourself.
Exactly. So you can kind of choose your own adventure. You can have your collection of ingredients, and every little sandwich you make can be different. So had this wonderful wedding dinner, and we had a photographer Susie had found who took lots of great photos and video of the wedding itself and some photos of us at the dinner. But what I'm including here are all things that we took of each other. And it was a beautiful restaurant, and my wife was very beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That was a lovely day.
So we get back to the hotel, and Susie walks across that really cool atrium that I told you about in her wedding dress with her winter coat over it. And when we get to the reception desk, they have a surprise for us. They have a really nice bottle of champagne. I had never had this brand before. I'm probably not pronouncing it totally correctly. It's Philippe Pre, I believe. But it was quite tasty, as we discovered later when we opened it. So the day after we were man and wife officially, we had a little business to take care of. The first thing we did was we made our way to the place where we got our wedding certificates apostilled. We had 2 wedding certificates, and we had to get an apostille, which, if you don't know, is an international agreement between multiple countries where it lets them know that this is a legitimate document. It's for all kinds of documents, birth certificates, wedding certificates, etc. And we had to get that. We got 2 copies apostilled so that we would be able to have our marriage recognized pretty much anywhere we traveled. But then it was on to some straight up tourism, and it was just amazing. The first place we went was to Christianshavn, pardon my pronunciation. We went to the canals, and everything from these Golden Age merchants' houses, they had the floating houseboats on the canal, and we went to this food hall in a place that I believe is pronounced Torvehallerne. The food hall is a covered twin glass pavilion setup. It has over 60 stalls in there, and we tried so many yummy foods. And what stood out to you as a favorite?
In Denmark, people love open sandwiches. By open sandwiches, it's just not one kind of food. It can be a million, depends on what combinations you like. So we tried many with the seafood, with eggs. Until this day we still love an open sandwich.
Yeah, absolutely. I love a good. In English, you call it a smorgasbord, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce it the way they say it because I would have Danish people maybe not mad at me, but definitely laughing a little too much right now. Near the food hall was a big open market, and Susie got to wander around and look at a bunch of fresh produce and vegetables, and it was really impressive. As we've discovered in Europe in general, the fruits and vegetables are really pretty top notch, and especially in the dead of winter. I'm sure they're bringing a lot of that stuff in from like Spain or other warmer places, but definitely from Europe. Now, because this was the dead of winter in early to approaching mid-January, it got dark super, super early. It felt like nighttime by like 4 p.m. So in some of the footage we have to show you, it looks like it's midnight, but it's actually maybe 5 or 6 p.m. But after we got done with kind of our late afternoon sort of, casual brunch and our stroll, we ended up over in several different neighborhoods. We got over to Holmen, which is an ex-naval base turned creative hub. They have an architectural school over there. There's an opera. We made our way to Gammelholm, which is a 19th century former shipyard district. And that is part of where you see like those postcard of the waterfront houses that are all kinds of different colors and so pretty and lit up. And there's the houseboats. Absolutely magical and gorgeous place. There's a bridge that is, I have to look at my notes, there's a bridge called Inderhavnsbroen, which apparently means kissing bridge. And we walked across the kissing bridge into Nyhavn. And when we got across the bridge, we saw a bunch of people ice skating.
Oh, right. That's a thing. If you love skating, you can go to one of those places. It's cold.
Yeah, quite cold.
It's cold, and if you want to enjoy yourself, and maybe go skating.
Yeah, it was just gorgeous, and like the twinkly lights everywhere on the shops and the boats and the houses. It's just absolutely beautiful. We finally made our way home, and I don't remember exactly, but we'll keep that between us. What happened that evening? I'm guessing perhaps a lot of that. So our next day in Copenhagen was all about a little bit more paperwork and then palaces. So first thing we had to do was we had to take our marriage certificates, and one of them we left it at the China Visa Application Service Center for them to do the Chinese certification on it so that they could check the apostille, and then they gave us the document that was attached to one copy that made sure that the marriage would be recognized in China. So we dropped it off, then we went for a walk, and we found a place to have a lunch. And it was good. It didn't change my life, but it was pretty good. I found a photo of it here. We got our photos open in front of us as we chit chat with you. It was pretty good. That's what we had. Hey, look, it's an open sandwich. Look at that. Imagine that. It's an open sandwich with a fried egg, and there's like some kind of a nice little basic green salad. It was tasty. I'm sure we didn't complain about any of the food when we were there. But then we went back and we picked up our Chinese version of an apostille. We picked up our Chinese verified marriage certificate, and then it was time to go check out some royalty. So I did not become an expert in Copenhagen geography, but the Royal Palace, or at least the former Royal Palace where they lived, I don't think they live there anymore, but it's a museum, and their parliament is right there. Their government is right there in other buildings. But I believe it's Slotsholmen is where that is, in the Christiansborg area. So I think Christiansborg is like the kind of like the district, and then Slotsholmen is like that specific little neighborhood. If I'm wrong, Danish people or people who are smarter than me, let us know in the comments below. But so we're at the palace. We see the exterior, and there's lots of cool statues and whatnot. And we first toured the royal stables, and that was pretty neat. We saw all these examples of the carriages that they used to carry the royal people, all the historic things and the plaques telling us what was done where, and this was in a wedding, and this was in this commemorative event. So after checking out the stables, we made our way up inside the palace proper, the fancy part. Now, we thought it was pretty fancy, but apparently, historically, some people haven't always agreed with that assessment.
Yeah. I noticed comments in the museum, apparently from way back. A French ambassador says something, being very, very mean, says something like, this palace is built on a very muddy countryside. And in this case, what I like about Danish people is that Danish can be sarcastically funny.
Exactly. I mean, if somebody came into our house and insulted us, we wouldn't say, wait a minute, can we get that on camera? And then we're going to loop that on a monitor in front of our door. But they put a plaque up. So the opinions of some historical French ambassador notwithstanding, I thought it was gorgeous. Susie thought it was gorgeous. It was so impressive. There was this amazing tapestry room, the massive table in the formal dining room. There was a hall full of all kinds of interesting art, including some very, very strange and abstract and even kind of esoteric, very kind of modern stuff. And some of that was old, but it was very almost psychedelic. It was pretty hip for a royal palace, I have to say. I thought it was really sweet. But continuing the tour, we did see the part of the palace that maybe the French guy was referring to. We got to see underneath the current palace. We saw the structural walls. They actually have a tour of pieces of the ruins of the original foundation of the original palace, because this is probably palace number 4 or 5. I forget how many. They tell you on the tour. It's been a minute. And then there were pieces of the protective ring wall that was built to protect against invaders. And we're looking at all this ancient stone and brick. And Susie noticed something really, really cool in one of the bricks. What was that?
That's a cat footprint.
There were little paw prints in some of the masonry. It was adorable. But in fairness, there was also tons of dried mud, dirt. So I can imagine when Frenchie was there back in the day and it was raining, it was probably not quite as nice as what we saw on our trip. But we made our way to the last giant stop of the tour, which was the former working kitchen. And my mom is a massive fan of copper cookware, as are many serious cooks and chefs, whether professional or amateur. And when I showed her the photos of this place, I could hear her heart stop over the phone, because I've never seen so much copper cookware in my life. The kitchen was extraordinary. And there was one really special, weird little feature. There was a story about a little girl who'd gotten trapped and was hiding. And what was that? Susie saw it before I did. And I went ah!
Yeah, there was a girl hiding in the kitchen counter. And also they play the sound.
My name is Anna. I live at the palace with my parents and my children.
I don't know what it said. exactly in Danish, but the impression was pretty effective. It made an impression on me.
Yeah, that's now we're not prepared to walk into a Halloween house, but I bet Danish people are probably really good at prepare for Halloween, I guess.
Well, that shows the sense of humor that she referenced. The fact that they have that on the Royal Palace tour, it was kind of the chef's kiss on the whole Palace tour experience. So by the time we were done, we made our way home somehow. This was probably the biggest walking day we had had as a newly married couple, I will say that for sure. So we had a little simple do-it-yourself dinner back at the hotel with, guess what? Yes, again, more pickled herring. So as much fun as all of that was, all good things must come to an end, as they say. And our next day was our last day. We had to check out of our room by a certain time, but our flight was not until the evening. So I basically emptied the refrigerator of everything left over that we could possibly eat and made some giant breakfast for us. We ate and packed, and then we went up to the reception and checkout desk to check out, but then sit there and enjoy this rooftop lounge. And there was a nice fireplace. Susie sat by the couch and relaxed and reflected and texted probably her mom and her friends, and we chatted, and I went out on the patio and I had started smoking for 5 minutes, I will admit, so I went out there and enjoyed puffing away on some nicotine and looking at the sights. And there was one other aspect of this hotel that was kind of cool given my profession. The national broadcaster's headquarters and studios are right next door, so I had a really nice view of their cool, very modern studios, all sleek and kind of shiny black and really, really high style architecture. And as you can see from some of our shots here, this section, which is outside of Frederiksberg, is more commercial and industrial. Not warehouse industrial, but more office buildings, kind of corporate work buildings, as opposed to like the corporate centerpiece where you bring the fancy out-of-town guest. But just behind them, you can see some of the historic city, the rooftops of the houses and historic buildings just not too far in the distance. So we really enjoyed spending the afternoon on this rooftop deck and relaxing there in a way that we hadn't really done too much of yet. And we made our way, when the time came, back to that really cool metro one more time, and we went right to the airport to shoot into the airport. And I will say that the flight home was a lot smoother than at least the arrival part of the flight to Copenhagen. But seeing Paris by night out the window as newlyweds was pretty sweet. So we hope you enjoyed coming on this very quick little trip to Denmark with us. We had a wonderful time in Denmark, and going back through the photos and video to prepare for this for you we just had a blast. It was such a great experience. So this video is the first in our series we will do about how convenient it is to travel all around Europe if you're based in France, especially Paris. So if you're enjoying what you see, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, it really helps us out. Let us know in the comments below what types of videos you would like to see. In addition to travel content, of course, we'll talk about everything having to do with moving to or getting situated and living a life in Paris. So thank you very much.
Thanks for watching Chez Davis. A bientôt.
A bientôt.